Hello everyone, this is Jeff with Startup Junto here for another founder interview. Today I have Derek Guirand here to talk to us about his company and the stuff that they do there. Derek, thanks for being on today.
Hey, thank you for having me. My name is Derek Guirand. I'm the CEO of Right Result. We have a product called Squlptr. The idea behind my company is to better match consumers and service providers. And in the case of Squlptr, the service providers are aesthetic plastic surgeons.
Okay, cool. So, how did you come to start your company? How did that? When did that start? Let's go back to the beginning.
I'm a physician by trade.
Okay.
And I like being a physician. And really, I had no intention of starting a business.
I'm sorry, I should have introduced you as doctor.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I'm a doctor in the hospital. I'm just Derek Guirand in the startup world.
Yeah.
So I was in Los Angeles about 3.5 years ago with a colleague of mine who's also a physician. We were both former U.S. Marines. He's a plastic surgeon now. And we were on a rooftop bar, just kind of seeing where our careers were going. He just finished his plastic surgery fellowship, and he was trying to get into private practice. And so we were on the rooftop bar, kind of hanging out, and we saw this group of women, and two of them had iPhones out, and they were trying to compare two plastic surgeons' results. And I kind of went, that's interesting. So I poked my buddy and I said, hey, maybe you should give him your card. He said, no, that'd be a little bit invasive, that'd be a little bit too intrusive, so we kind of let it go there. The next night we were thinking about, what would be a good way to launch himself into private practice, and some of our friends were using the dating apps, the swipeable dating apps.
Yeah.
And I said, if you can swipe for dates, you're really looking at aesthetics of what you like. This is beautiful, this is not beautiful. Why can't you do that with before and after photos? So we came up with the idea of putting the plastic surgeon's best marketing device or best marketing
strategies?
Best marketing strategies out there, which are the before and after photos.
Yeah.
And so what our app does is it allows a person in a particular location to look at just the before and after photos of several doctors at the same time, unbiased, and allows them to choose their physician based on their own personal aesthetic tastes.
Okay. Nice.
And then the physician pops up and you go, oh wow, okay, I matched with this particular physician, number one, and you have your top 5 results, and then you kind of go from there. So it's quicker. You don't have to go through the slog of a Google search, and for the physician, we believe it's less expensive.
Yeah.
You put your photos up there. There's no extra SEO to do, and let your consumers come find you.
Nice. So Derek, did you have any entrepreneurial experience before taking this on?
Interesting question, because I always had considered myself a first-time entrepreneur, and then a friend of mine from medical school reminded me, no, you had a business in medical school. I established the largest student-run clinical exchange program in the country when I was a medical student. And we very briefly kind of spun that off into a very short-lived business. But I was coordinating clinical exchanges with medical students from all over the world, and sending American students abroad. They went to Brazil, Japan, Italy, Iceland, Czech Republic, even sent a couple to Lebanon.
Wow. So
it was fantastic. And these were all month-long exchanges, and they were very inexpensive for the student. So I guess I consider myself a serial entrepreneur.
Yeah. I mean, I talk with a lot of entrepreneurs, and they think of the current big business that they're running now as their first business. And then when I asked them about that, they're like, I was selling stuff on eBay in high school. I started a club in college that turned into a business that I was making money off of. So, there's generally not just one time that you were, being entrepreneurial. It's generally a mindset, of you wanting to take on a venture. and
Actually, I
did
think
something.
I did haircuts in the barracks too back
See?
when I was in the Marine Corps.
There you go. Yeah.
So
When were you in the Marine Corps?
I was in the Marine Corps from 1989 and got out of the reserves in 1999.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm old.
Yeah.
The gray hair is real.
Where'd you go to medical school?
I went to University of Illinois in Chicago.
Nice.
And I went to the University of California, San Diego before that. And for some reason, I keep moving east when I want to go back west.
Yeah. Is that where you're from? Out west?
Actually, I'm from Boston.
Oh.
Born in Boston. I moved to Palo Alto, California in high school. I went to Palo Alto High School.
Yeah. You don't have much of a Boston accent. So.
Only when I get
when you
a
get
bit too tipsy or really angry. I lose all my eyes.
Yeah. Or watching some of the World Series.
Oh yeah, it's coming back. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. So, what were the first steps you took when you wanted to start your business? How did you know where to start? Did you do research, find mentorship?
I decided that I was going to step on every landmine there was.
Yeah. That can be the best way to go about it.
Yeah, I know.
You learn from your mistakes and you don't make it again.
I know where they all are now, or most of them, I think. What I did is I did some internet research. I did read some books on entrepreneurship and a couple of MBA books here and there. But what I did was, my first approach was to ask friends about the idea. I wanted them to say, "Hey, tell me this idea is dumb. Give me your best criticism.
Yeah.
Tell me why this is not going to work."
Criticism is something that a lot of people don't like to hear, but the best entrepreneurs can take it and be actionable from that criticism.
Fail fast is a concept in entrepreneurship. So a lot of I gave it to a lot. Talked to a lot of people, and the interesting thing was the first instinct was, "Oh no, that's a horrible idea." Then they thought about it for a second and went, "Wow, that's a good idea." At first glance, it doesn't sound great, but then when you think of things like data generation and all sorts of advertising revenue and all sorts of things like that, I think, wow, there's a lot of revenue streams and there's a lot of potential here. You can expand this outside of plastic surgery. We can go to things like tattoos or hairstyles, anything like that. Yeah,
you can scale up those types of services.
And the idea is that we see that mobile phones have been getting a lot more use. I have a 21-year-old son who prefers to look up information on his mobile phone rather than his high-speed laptop.
Yeah.
So he's like, just do it here. It's a bit quicker.
Yeah.
So this has become it's become a ubiquitous tool that everyone uses, especially a younger generation. They're kind of born with these things in their hands. So we decided that we're going for the future. People my age, we're kind of set in our ways, but we think that things like use of mobile phones and getting all of the information in one spot very quickly in a handheld device is what the future is. So we wanted to adjust that. And right now, the industry that we're in, the plastic surgery industry that we're in, there's still a lot of people that want to do a Google search.
Yeah.
But as the population ages, they'll bring their habits with them. So.
Yeah, and definitely planning for the future and looking at your current demographic and the growth of that, and the sustainability of that, because people age and their habits change, their needs change, but at the same time they keep with them a lot of those habits.
Right.
So the current generations now, we check our phones and hopefully our eyes are good enough that when I'm 80, that'll be still my go-to. But I try to not be looking at my screen as much anymore because my doctor said,
Sure.
it's not great for your eyes.
Sure.
You're a doctor, so
I
know how to say that to you.
I just started wearing readers myself. So.
Yeah.
But it's been an interesting adventure so far. I do like being a physician.
Yeah.
And I'm fortunate enough to be able to have most of my practice around my own schedule. So I schedule my practice on nights and weekends. So I'm sort of a part-time doctor now.
Okay.
Sort of a hospitalist. So I have the daytime free for the startup company.
Cool.
So
cool. Now, when you started the company, did you find that any of the skills that you learned in med school and being a doctor helped you as an entrepreneur? Did it translate?
I would have to say my time in the Marine Corps was actually more helpful.
Yeah.
The leadership skills I learned in the military and organization skills I learned in the military, well, that helped me get through medical school too.
Yeah.
I found were helpful.
I know. A lot of my friends that I grew up with went into the military. You know, whether the Navy, Air Force, and Marines. Actually, close friends. And when they came out, you know, they went right into school, and like these were guys that in high school were barely skating by, and just the discipline they learned.
You're a lot more focused.
Yeah.
After the military.
It blew me away. It was so cool to see them, you know, go back to school and really succeed. But yeah, I saw those skills translate, you know, not only to an educational setting, but professional setting too. It just developed them so much.
Yeah. I mean, it's not to say that I'm saying you should go into the military before you become an entrepreneur. I don't suggest that at all.
But experiences can help you.
The experience, yes, the experience, the learning to deal with and lead people from very many different backgrounds and education backgrounds and understanding and having to be able to relate to them and their experiences to get everybody on the same page is something. It was great to learn. You know, I think a lot of MBA programs kind of model the military on occasion.
Yeah. So. Yeah, the communication skills is vital, and being able to not just communicate, but to communicate with a diverse group of people. Yes. You know, because as an entrepreneur, and this is a recurring thing I find with a lot of entrepreneurs, is that, you know, they've contributed part of their success to the network around them. Yes. And the people that they meet, the relationships that they build, and the more diverse relationships that you have, and the more diverse network that you have, just puts you, you know, within arm's reach of so many different point of views, perspective, other skills. So yeah, that's definitely
and you raise up the issue of points of views, and sometimes as leaders we can start drinking our own bathwater, and we think this is the best way to go because I thought about this, and then you might ask, you know, your private, hey, what do you think about this? And he'll come up with the things that you hadn't thought of. Yeah. And you're like, oh wow, that's not really a good idea. Yeah. So I like to gather information from many different perspectives before we make a decision. I think a team is better together, even if you know you have people who really disagree with you. I think that the best team members are the ones who really disagree, because they make you sharpen they make you sharpen your ideas.
Absolutely.
Like I always say, you know, from a drill instructor, it's like a sword sharpened by stone, not marshmallows. Yeah. So you have to have people who disagree with you and who will sometimes really tell you that, hey, your idea sucks. Yeah. Because the idea, you know, the goal is not, you know, fulfill your ego. The goal is to put your product out there and have it to be successful. Yeah, and
you know, going on with that is, you know, don't necessarily partner yourself with people that align with you. Don't look for people that align with your, you know, your perspective and point of view. But you know, people that can enhance that. Right. I just read a great article in Forbes about the downfall of Sears and this latest CEO that they had. And he was bringing on more and more executives and board members that were aligned with his goals and what he thought was good for the company. And you know, they just filed for bankruptcy this past Monday.
This huge, iconic, you know, company is gone.
And it's funny too, you know, they became so big because of the convenience that they brought to shopping with their catalogs. And, you know, they couldn't keep up, or not that they couldn't, they chose not to keep up with the new levels of convenience. And, you know, online shopping, they didn't get in when they should have and didn't take the right avenues, so they...
Sears had, I remember the Sears catalog, I'm old, the Sears catalog, and every Christmas we would pour over the Sears catalog, and it was the best. That Sears catalog should have been, you know, Google, or they could have made the Sears catalog into something that every kid would pour over on their phone.
Yeah.
And make their little wish
and
list.
that was innovative back then. You had the mail order catalog, and then not only that, but they had the shipping. With the postal service, where local shipments, you didn't even have to pay extra to have those local deliveries. So it was.
They were Amazon before Amazon.
Yeah. So. Which is a shame to see them, collapse like they did. But that just goes along with surround yourself with a diverse group of people.
Yeah.
And the team that I'm on right now, I'm really fortunate that we're very diverse.
Mm-hmm.
And even if it's just an email that I'm sending out, I get 2 more people to look at it before I hit send. I always, it's either a designer and our project manager, or a developer and an intern even. I'll be like, hey, how's this sound? Does this sound all right? And so, I
funny story.
Get great perspectives that way.
When we were designing the logo, I decided that I was going to have the teenage boy test to look at the logo first to make sure it didn't look really, really dumb or off. Because a couple of the logos, I put it in front of my teenage son and said, hey, what do you think of this? And, if they started giggling, that wasn't the right logo. So I'll leave it to your imagination what some of these, So, so things like that, or perspective that, I'm not that old. I'm older.
Mm-hmm.
Not the typical age of the typical entrepreneur, but I'm trying to make something for a generation that I may not exactly know all the nuances to. Mm-hmm. So I have to surround myself with that generation and the potential consumers. What do you think of this? Yeah. Because you don't want to be the guy telling dad jokes. Mm-hmm. Hey, I got this cool app, kids. Yeah. It's like, this is stupid. I drop dad jokes all the time. Yeah. When I write an email, the first time I write an email, it comes off so salesy. I've got a sales experience, and I'm always told oh my God, I read it 2 more times. I'm like, you're right, this is awful. Well, so I often have been I kind of suffered from the same thing former President Obama suffered from, with trying to explain things too much to people. Mm-hmm. And I'm a science nerd. Yeah, I love explaining science concepts, and sometimes I give too much information, and people's eyes glaze over, and I realize, oh wow. That's something I have to change about myself. Mm-hmm. I don't want to say, I don't think dumbing it down is the right term, but I have to adjust what I'm presenting so that people understand it. Yeah, they into the context of your audience, and what their interests are, and what they know. So sometimes too much detail is going to not get the point across. Mm-hmm. So sometimes you need more detail. So. Yeah. Now I like to draw pictures too. So. I do too, but sometimes they just doesn't look like a picture. So, what was one of the biggest struggles that you've experienced through starting your business and running it over the years? One of the biggest struggles was, let's see, I think the initial organization and dividing up the work. Mm-hmm. Because at first, you have these titles. Oh, I'm the CEO, I'm this, I'm that. And it's really, if you have 3 people, you can't really be the CEO of 2 other people. Mm-hmm. Yes, eventually you will be the CEO, and you have to kind of have an eye on that job in the future, but in the very beginning, you're the janitor. You're the guy that sends out the emails. You're the person that writes the copy and draws the pictures and does everything. Mm-hmm. So divvying up the work evenly was a little bit difficult in the beginning. Were they all co-founders? My initial co-founders were at a distance. The thing is I'm still a practicing physician. However, like I said earlier, I'm able to practice at my convenience. I make my own schedule, so I make everything. I'm a doctor on the weekends and at night. Mm-hmm. My other 2 colleagues had full-time day jobs, so it was a little difficult for them to actually be on the same schedule as me. Yeah. So what we did is I sought their advice, because one's an expert in aesthetic plastic surgery,
Mm-hmm.
and the other is has a couple of decades of management experience. So
Yeah.
these are things that I did not have in particular.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to make these things in small enough bites so that they could do them on time without it interfering with their day jobs.
Yeah.
Because when you don't have revenue coming in, you can't really ask someone, hey, why don't you quit your 6-figure job to come work on this?
Yeah.
So we're not the typical entrepreneurs. It's we have homes and families and stuff
And
like that.
that's really common.
Yeah.
Sometimes people can't just quit their job,
Right.
or they might not want to. They just
Right.
want an additional, income,
Yeah.
stream, and having that balance between your current life,
Yeah.
whether that's a job, a family, hobbies, is really important to understanding how much time you're going to commit to it. And we have a great blog on startupjunto.org that talks about founder agreements and setting up expectations for yourself. How much time you're going to be committing to your business,
Yeah.
when you're going to be committing this to your business. Whether it's in the morning, afternoon, at night, and then also as well with your co-founders.
Yeah.
What do you expect from them? And having that down in writing can just be a great point of reference. When you go back and if there's ever a disagreement, you can be like, well, look, we agreed on this, and if we need to change it, but it can, it's a great way to help you stay organized. But it's a good, if things go sour, which they do with co-founders, and you might have experienced this, you might have not have, but sometimes people say, well, he said, she said, but if it's in writing, what was said.
Get a lawyer first. Okay, get a lawyer first, and you're going to be tempted to say, hey, we're all friends here, let's just split everything evenly.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds great, but in practice, that might not be the best thing, and it can cause acrimony later on.
Yeah.
And if you're in this with your friends, I don't want to lose my friends.
Mm-hmm.
My friends are more important than the business.
Yeah.
However, having said that, I'm not going to go into the business and not want it to succeed. Sometimes you have to let your friend go.
Mm-hmm.
And if it comes to that, there should be no drama. It should just be, look, this is not good for the business.
Yeah.
The business is the baby.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to do everything you can to, raise your child.
Yeah.
You don't have to be greedy. I always say I'm not greedy. But if the actions taken by certain members of the founding group aren't for the benefit of the business, then adjustments need to be made.
Mm-hmm.
And things like like I said, founder equity, or you should really have a professional divvy that up. I spent days reading over, hey, how do you divvy up? How do you apportion equity?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's all worth nothing until it's something.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, you don't want to, have someone with, 50% of your shares who hasn't done anything in a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, get the agreement set up first.
And there's a lot of resources out there for entrepreneurs.
Absolutely.
For like legal resources.
Yes.
And there's like LegalZoom and some other websites where you can just have someone online take a look at it, or and there's tons and tons of founder agreements out there already that you might just need to modify some verbiage, and it'll fit your case.
I think that's great. My own personal advice is I prefer not to DIY it.
Mm-hmm.
As a physician, when someone comes to me with hey, I Googled this particular thing, I think I'm going to go with Google.
Yeah.
Well, you're asking for my professional opinion. I'm a professional doing this, so I wouldn't feel good giving advice saying, oh yeah, just Google that and check it out on WebMD. It'll be fine.
I'm not advocating.
Oh no, not at all. Yeah.
Always, consult an expert. Absolutely.
Yes. For what worked for us, finally, because the other problem is, you have, a couple of physicians and one of my founders is really a rocket scientist. He's an aerospace engineer. So you got a bunch of guys in the room.
Everyone's an expert,
who,
right?
Everyone is like, we're the smartest people. Everyone thinks they're the smartest. It's like, oh, we can do that law stuff. It's not that. And it's like, no, you really should have a lawyer.
Yeah.
Take care of it. So
that's why a lawyer is not going to take on some medical stuff. So.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, that's if I had to do all over again, I would engage. And it's expensive, and I get it. It's like, well, there's these legal fees. I would engage a good group of startup attorneys first, and the group I have now are fantastic. And they're a boutique firm.
What group is that, if you don't mind?
Oh, they're called Growth Council.
Growth Council?
Yeah,
Okay.
Growth Council is fantastic. They don't take on everyone, and what I like about them is they're a no stress group. They're like, yeah, we can help you. What do you want to do? This is what it's going to. They'll tell you this is what it's going to cost, and they understand that you're a startup, and they understand that you're probably cash strapped. And so, I'm not saying they don't give it away for free, but they make it work for you.
Yeah.
And the advice is excellent. I feel like I'm well taken care of.
And they've seen it all, I'm sure, at this point. And
these guys are great.
Yeah.
They're fantastic. I get great advice from them. I feel like I'm taken care of. I don't feel like I'm taken advantage of. They are a fantastic group. That's one of the best things I've done so far is engage them. I feel like, okay. And they a couple days ago, he just email, hey, how you doing? I haven't heard from you in a while. Checked in.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
that's great to have. Someone that just keeps you on their radar, and they.
A good CPA too. Is to keep your books. I can't say enough about that. A lot of times you want to jump right in, and everyone wants to do just the tech. Yeah. The tech is difficult, but still you really have to pay attention to the rest of your business too, or you'll go. You might find yourself going in a direction you don't want to go into, and not enough money, and running out of money by making these mistakes.
And not watching your cash flows and having the accounting all in your books, written properly, and
sometimes you have to DIY it. Sometimes it's just, look, you don't have any cash. Sometimes you have to step up, and I get that. But if you do it right, you should be able to use your money wisely. Incorporate, and again, that's talking to the lawyer first. I would incorporate. And as far as doing things like your tech, there are several options. There are local options. There are offshore options. And it's just, you have to figure out what your threshold of frustration is. Yeah. Do you want to be up at 10 o'clock at night talking to India or Poland or whatever? And, if you're a non-technical co-founder like me, you're translating between English to another language to tech language. So things get lost in translation. There are a few things I do differently now, knowing what I know. I think I would try to get a technical co-founder, or someone, a technical lead at least, an advisor.
And there's some something that Open Forge offers is, will be, like a CTO as a service, where someone they dedicate a couple hours a month to, making sure that things are going properly, and they can give you a really great opinion and perspective from the technical standpoint, to make sure you're getting what you need. So. I agree. Now, Derek, we're coming down to the end of the video here. I just wanted to give you an opportunity to give a 30-second shameless plug into your company.
Squlptr is an easy-to-use service. We are launching in 2 cities, in Los Angeles and in Austin, Texas, for a trial run. We're trying to connect consumers with the best aesthetic plastic surgeons who are board certified in their field. We believe that it'll be easier for the consumer and better and allow the plastic surgeons, the younger plastic surgeons, to compete on a more level playing field with their more established peers. When it comes to Philadelphia, I'll definitely get in front of you again and talk about our launch. But right now, we're looking forward to an initial launch in Austin and LA.
Great, excellent. Well, Derek, thanks for being on today. Everyone in the Startup Junto community, thanks for watching today. We're going to be having new startup founder interviews weekly, couple a week, hopefully. And stay tuned for the next video. Derek, thanks again for being on today.
Thank you so much.